close the distance, we both failed.
Hello, I'm Gareth Davies. Welcome to the Battle of the Baddest podcast. I'm here in Whitehall in Westminster in London. We have the press conference today for David Adeleye and Fabio Wardley. Wardley defends the British heavyweight title. It's a big grudge fight between these two unbeaten young British heavyweights. Of course, they are the precursor to the fight between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou on October the 28th in Riyadh. We're going to head to the press conference now. I'm going to interview both men today. I'm going to speak to Dan Hardy and Carl Frampton, who are on the broadcast team for TNT Sports. I'm going to speak to promoter Frank Warren, and we're going to see if there's going to be any more argy-bargy today. Welcome to the Battle of the Baddest podcast. Well, joining me on the Battle of the Baddest podcast, one of the best-looking Adonises in Britain, in heavyweight boxing and in boxing. You are. Let's not be too shy about this. But the key is what you do with your hands and your feet and your brain, isn't it, in the ring?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good looking the part, but are you the part? That's the thing. I think is actually showing up on the night and doing the job. But so far, so good, and planning for the same event again on the 28th.
It must feel huge to be on, it's a 6-fight heavyweight card. These two fellas behind us.
The big boys.
The Francis Ngannou's chance to probably create the biggest upset in heavyweight boxing history against the lineal champion, Tyson Fury. Without going into the rivalry between yourself and David Adeleye, first of all, does it feel like a kind of a shot in the arm, an injection to be able to be on such a big card that's going to be watched so globally?
Yeah, this show, like I've been on big shows, this has a different feel to it, definitely. You're seeing this really ramping up now as you're getting closer to the fight. The promotion and stuff is all really, really building. Really, they're going full steam ahead with it, and it's really it's grabbing a lot of people, like random people who aren't particularly even that interested in boxing stuff, are grabbing me, and they're like, oh, so you're on this card and so-and-so's fighting, and it's grabbing a lot of people's attention. So it's massive for me, a privilege to be a part of the show, and have everything there laid out in front of me, and then they go, right, go Fab, stage is yours, have your moment.
Are you saying that it is crossing over, this event then?
Yeah, definitely. It is definitely crossing over, and I think that was partly the point as well, was to grab a wider audience and try and get some more people involved to have a look and go, look, this is boxing, and this is two massive events or two massive people coming together. And there's a lot of question marks about the fight and how it's going to end up and how it's going to be, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. When
I spoke to Todd DeBuff and Bob Arum and Frank Warren, the promotional side of all of this, I know you're an independent at the moment, aren't you? There is a move towards the Middle East, towards Saudi Arabia, with big-time heavyweight boxing. So outside, again, your actual battle, your retention of your title against Adeleye, it's a chance to really put yourself out there as well, isn't it? In what would be, it's almost like the Vegas of years ago that we were going to, that this might be the new Las Vegas for the big fight nights. So a statement from you can really put you in that mix. You must, without putting pressure on yourself, you must feel that as well, that this is that kind of opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because it's like I just said, they give you the platform and they go, right, here's your moment. Here you go, take advantage of it. And I'm more than happy to do so. It's definitely, those are the type of things that really get me going. Like when you look around and you stop for a second and you go, I'm part of something serious here, like something big's happening, and this is my moment. Like you get your time in the ring to showcase your skills, your abilities, and then after that you do a good job, and hopefully they give you a call again and want you to come back, because like I say, the Saudis are looking like they've taken a keen interest into boxing. There's going to be a lot more fights there going forward, and a lot more I'd like to be a part of.
Definitely a movement. We're sitting here today overlooking the Thames, Horse Guards Hotel. We are, I think, 12 days, 11 days from the event. You heading off today as well? You're getting over there, you're going to acclimatise?
Soon, not yet. Soon though. Yeah, I'll be going over soon. Soak up some of the weather, soak up some of the rays, and just enjoy it a bit as well, and enjoy the spectacle of what it's going to be. Take some moments, not too many, but take some time to kind of soak it in and go, and just reflect and go, yeah, hang on, we're part of something special here.
Undefeated in 16 fights. You pulled me up earlier, but I didn't look up your record before I got here. I had to ask you.
You chopped my record in half, I think. And he said I had about 11 fights or something like that. I was like, hang on, I've done a few more than that.
Lost 2/3, not half.
Wow.
Listen, you were splitting hairs.
Tomato.
You are one of the rising stars of the division. When you look back to, I mean, just a little bit on your history, that you were fighting very little amateur background, or none really.
No amateur.
Yeah. You were a white collar boxer. You obviously very athletic growing up. Do you, when you look back now, is it a bit of a dream? Do you have to pinch yourself? I know you put the hard work in, Fabio. There's no question about that. I've always been a fan of yours. But do you have to pinch yourself that things are mushrooming all the time for you?
Yeah, it's a funny one. When I allow myself them little moments to stop and kind of bask in what I've done so far. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't give it to myself too often. But every now and then I have a little moment and I'll be like, actually, you're not doing half bad. You've done all right, considering where you started, considering where you've come from, and what you've achieved so far in your career. You're doing pretty well, Fab. So I give myself a little pat on the back every now and then, but not too much.
But it's more where you were. Was it 5 years ago? You would have been now? Where were you headed? What were you going to do in life? Where was your focus and energy being put into?
I think, I started, what am I now, 28, almost 29. So 5 years ago, I was just starting out on my boxing career. And I was just doing it because I enjoyed it. I had a love for the sport. I had a love for the training, pushing yourself and testing and really seeing how far, where my limits were. I think that's something definitely boxing brings out of people, is really making you think that your limits are in one place and showing you that actually you've got a bit more in the tank. So I was focused on the sport back then, but I wasn't necessarily sure of where my path was or where I was going to end up. And as the years went on, things got to be a bit clearer, and I started to narrow my focus. And then a few years on from that, here I am.
This fight against David Adeleye, Wardley versus Adeleye, is one that we might not have got this soon, but it reminds me back in the day of the super middleweights, George Groves and James DeGale fighting when they were at Commonwealth and British level at the time. They both went on to be world champions, of course. I have a feeling that both you and David will, no matter what happens on October the 28th in Riyadh. When you get a fight like this, it's a crossroads fight, for how we see it anyway. It might just be another fight to you. Do you look at it differently? Do you treat yourself differently? Are you up for it more? Maybe you're up for it more because of the contretemps, if I can call it that, at the press conference a couple of weeks back. Talk to me about that. Are you up for it more? Did what happened there kind of light a fire under you more so?
I think, like, I'm always a consummate professional, so I always want to put the most into my training, into myself. And like, I'm always in the gym. I'm never particularly out of shape or never out of the gym. I'm never away from it too often for too long, even quite shortly after a fight. I want to respect the sport and put the most into it. So it's hard to say, oh yeah, I've put more into this camp, because I'm always putting 100% in. I'm always doing more. I'm always pushing myself. I'm always thinking, how can we tweak? What can we add? Like, even at the points where, like a few fights ago now, we've added Ben into the camp, and that's me going, all right, cool, that's another little 1% and another little 1%. So I'm doing those things all the time anyway. I don't need any...
Ben into the camp?
Ben Davison as part of the team.
Not everyone knows who he is.
I think quite a few people know who Ben Davison is. But like, doing those little bits, even aside from any sort of controversy or needing any sort of nudge to do those things, I'm doing them on my own. I think before anything else, I hold myself to a higher standard and want to make sure that I'm getting the most out of this, because the boxing career isn't particularly long either. So I need to really treat it with respect, and and put the most into it that I can, and that's what I try and do.
What about the fire? What about what happened on the red carpet? You guys obviously want to be the king of the jungle. There is a rivalry there. It's a very, very exciting fight for us when we picture the silhouettes moving and the hands flying. You're both at similar stages. He's come up maybe a bit behind you, but what did that do that day? How did you feel after what happened there on the day? Did you go away with something different in your mind?
I was probably disappointed more so, because like I'm not like I understand that boxing as a sport has those moments and those back and forths and things, and they're fine. They have their place to a certain extent, but then
the reason it has its place and the reason it's got more exciting is because we, having watched boxing a really long time, know that when something like that's happened, victory for you becomes even more important.
It definitely will be sweeter on the night. I'd agree with that, definitely. But there was a lot more to be done that day. That's the thing. There was a big press conference that was watched by millions of people that I was supposed to be a part of, and that got disrupted and taken away. And it was supposed to be a great time to showcase not only the main event but us as chief support. A lot of people have dedicated a lot of time and money to an event like that. So for some silly people to ruin it with some silly actions is, like I say, disappointing. But it is what it is, and like I say, victory on the night will be a bit sweeter.
Bell rings. What happens?
It depends. It depends what kind of mood I'm in, I think.
Really?
It depends how I feel about going about it, because I think I'm gonna like I've been saying it probably since for a long enough time now that I don't believe he has any heart or anything in him, and I think that's, if I can get anything from this fight, at least that's the thing I want to show to people, is that he's made of glass, he's soft, there's nothing there, there's no substance, there's no heart. And I'll happily put myself on the line to show you that, and I'll showcase, because I've gone through those moments before, those hard, rough moments where you've got to figure it out. And for me, it doubles me down and makes me more focused on the job at hand. So it's going to bring me a bit of joy to showcase that to the world of just how really feeble he is.
Is it going the distance?
No, not even close. Not even close. It's my first time in Saudi. I want to see some of the place. So I'm going to get that job done, and then I'm going to chip off and have a look around and see what's going on.
These two fellas behind, a lot of people, I've been correcting a lot of people. They're calling that fight, Fury versus Ngannou, an exhibition. Could you imagine Francis if he was coming in against you, deciding he was going to give an exhibition? For me, it's a fight still. He's a proud warrior from the MMA code, a former UFC heavyweight champion. He's been written off in many quarters. If you were giving Francis advice in his fight with Tyson, what would you say to him?
I think I'd say ignore the talk and you know yourself. You believe in yourself, because he's achieved a lot in UFC or in his specific domain. And those skills are transferable. And don't get me wrong, Fury is a great boxer, a great fighter, has a lot of heart. So it's not an easy job by any stretch of the imagination, but it's an accomplishable task, definitely. There's definitely that in it, and I think that's what makes it so interesting, is that there are question marks around how hard does Ngannou hit, and if he does catch Fury, will he land? If he does land, will he go down? Will Fury be able to get up? And don't get me wrong, we've seen from Fury that he's got this almost like superpower-like ability to just get up, even though you think he's done for, or you think he's out. So maybe we'll see a bit of that. Maybe it'll be a bit of the up and down like it was with the Wilder fight, a few ups, a few downs, and we'll get them exciting moments. But either way, I think it's going to be one to remember.
And as someone that's rising, obviously your British title's on the line, as rising towards world level at the moment, you're probably 4 or 5 fights, you might say, no, I'm not even that far away from it. When you heard that Fury against Alexander Usyk has been signed as well, does that gladden your heart? Yeah,
definitely. I think for a multiple of reasons, but one, because I think, especially with this fight, I think a little bit people were upset that they didn't think they were getting the Usyk fight. And then now I think it's like a double whammy where you're getting you're getting 2 for 1. You're getting more bang for your buck, really. You're getting the really interesting matchup of Fury versus Ngannou and all the question marks that has around it. And then all of those core boxing fans are satisfied as well, because they know at the end of that, once that's done as well, they've got Fury Usyk to go for as well. So you're getting 2 for 1 on that.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in Riyadh at the Battle of the Baddest. Maybe you could tell the fans what you're going to do on the night into that camera.
Fabio Wardley here. It's getting ready to prep up for the 28th Saudi fight. It's going to be a great fight. My fights are always entertaining, always interesting, and always spicy, so it's going to get rowdy in Saudi.
Oh, I like it. Rowdy in Saudi. Thank you very much. As always, thank you, Fabio.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Well, I'm delighted to be joined on the Battle of the Baddest podcast by the Big D himself, David Adeleye, who's been in Miami training for this. Is that first time abroad training?
No. I think my 4th or 5th time, so yeah, it's not my first.
You like it over there, the heat, running in the morning, training like...
Yes, the humidity, the heat, get away from the distractions, the sparring's a better quality. There's a load of heavyweights above in Miami, so yeah, it's good work.
There's a big grudge fight brewing, and it ain't Fury and Ngannou right now. It's you and Wardley, Fabio Wardley. I spoke to him earlier, and he's saying you've got a glass heart, and he's going to crack it early in this fight. What do you say to that?
Numpty. What's he talking about? I've never heard somebody even say that to me before. But if that's what he's banking on, then yeah, it's better for me.
Do you think it's going to be a war?
Depends on what comes out. And I mean, how he comes out. If he comes out with a war, I'll stand and I'll bang with him. If he comes out trying to run away, then obviously it's going to take a longer time. But for me, there's no problem. You know what I mean? I'll stand and bang with him anywhere, so it don't really matter.
You and I have met recently. We've spoken a few times about your growth over the last year, 2 years. And I say growth in terms of maturing as a fighter and as a person. And you're the baby of your family, aren't you?
Yeah.
But you're a giant baby if you're ever a baby. But
yeah.
But there's a maturity about how you feel about life, your career, your professionalism.
Yeah, 100%. Experience brings wisdom, right? You can be a 20-year-old experienced fella and have more wisdom than a man that's 40.
Mike Tyson was like that, maybe?
Exactly. I just got a lot of life experience, I think, and over time you start to pick up on certain things. And yeah, in terms of fighting as well, I think I've picked up a lot of experience in the last 2 years as well. So yeah, it's making me the man I am today. So.
The contretemps, the melee you had with Fabio Wardley, well, you didn't necessarily have it, but the camps had at the red carpet event at Outernet, just up the road from here in Whitehall, 6 weeks ago, caused a big stir.
Yeah,
it's created a lot of noise around this fight.
Yeah.
Has it created a lot more noise in your heart and in your psychology because of that as well, that it's ignited massive interest from the public in this fight?
No, in my heart is to say, because he wasn't really doing anything. I mean, like, that just showed me that, you know what I mean? He keeps talking about all of these other things, but that just shows me he's not really that guy. He talks it and his team might look it, but they're not really them sort of people. And like I said, we only went there to match energy. I never went in there with no malice. It was all right when we went in. I'm just good at matching energy. So when their team came with a certain energy, we matched it. They didn't like it. I was only in there with 3 people. It looked like I was in there with a load of people, but I was only in there with 3 people. He was in there with a whole team. He bought his own security firm. We still matched the energy and came out on top. So I suppose, people just thinking of having a certain assumption, or he does, but yeah, it's all good.
Bell rings on Saturday night, October the 28th, in Riyadh to open the Riyadh season. These 2 big fellas behind you on the poster, the only ones left on the night. What happens when the bell rings between you and Wardley? Go
out there and have some fun. If he wants to bring war, he's going to get war. If he wants to try and be smart, I'm going to outsmart him, Yeah, he doesn't do nothing better than me on the fight night.
Do you outbox him? Do you outfight him? Do you out...
Both. Both. Like, I'm going in there knowing there's going to be a tussle. He's going in there thinking, I've got Adeleye, or his heart might go, or he ain't been in a situation before. And if that's what you're banking on, you're being silly. You're very silly. Because I'm not going into the fight thinking like that. I'm going into the fight knowing it's going to be a tussle. So I think that's the difference between me and him. I go into war knowing I'm in war. He'll go into a battle and only if he knows he's going to come out on top. No, that's not the case sometimes, you know. I mean, I study some people. Like, I study the art of war. People that go out and don't come home the same. You know, people that go out and not even come home. That's war. You know, it's not war when you're going out and you know you're going to come out on top of all of them situations there. So when he says that to me, it kind of shows me you ain't really got bottled in because you just think you're going to win. You know, I'm going into this fight, I know I'm going to win, but I know it could be at the same time be a very tough night. But you see how my heart doesn't change though. Like I say, my heart beats fear for no man. Wardley definitely wouldn't be the first person that beats fear for. Trust me.
Do you think it goes the distance or
It
not?
wouldn't. If it goes the distance, we both failed. The pair of us.
Why?
Because he can't talk like he's a big banger. I can't talk like I'm a big banger and I can't bang up people like Wardley. Wardley's getting away. The judges ain't needed. They're both taking a lunch break, dinner break. They can go get some cold water in the heat whilst I quickly go and do my job on Wardley. There ain't going to be no judges needed.
Apart from the massive occasion it is for yourself, you're going into a fight, you're a professional fighter, it's a huge moment in terms of the British title being on the line, all those kind of things. A big rival of yours reminds me, as I said earlier when I was talking to Fabio, of James DeGale and George Groves fighting years ago. You can go back to Audley Harrison, David Hay, lots of British fights where we were very excited about it. Apart from that, bigger than that, opening the Riyadh season, 6 heavyweight fights on the card. Roberto Duran Jr. fighting Jack McGann. They're obviously not heavyweights, but 6 heavyweight fights on the card. A really big event that's being promoted all over the world. We've seen the Sphere in Las Vegas. We've seen just it being promoted literally globally. Brilliant videos leading into it. What does that mean to you to be on an event of this magnitude?
It's good. I remember my coach told me, soak it up, because at the end of the day, all it is a bunch of memories. So I just enjoy it and soak it up. There's going to be a time I'm headlining these shows and there's going to be my name up there. But, you know, you've got to play your position. You've got to climb the ladder. I can't complain. I'm in a good opportunity right now. You know, I'm in a good space. So, yeah, I just kind of go there, go with the flow, enjoy it. Don't take it too serious. You know, I chose boxing. Boxing never chose me. I chose to do this sport. You know, so it's nothing I can't handle. You know, it's not one of them things where, you know, certain people, they fight because they have to. I'm not in a position like that. I'm in a position, I'll fight because I want to, because I love it. You know, so when you do something like that, it's always different.
Do you want to steal the show, though?
I definitely do want to steal the show, 100%. I want to steal his heart too, and his belts. You know, yeah. I mean, I don't want to talk too much, but yeah.
Are you convinced in your heart and in your mentality and your psychology that you will be the world champion?
I will be. There's not even no doubts. Like, it's just, I don't know what it is, man. There's just something that separates me from these other boys. I seriously don't know what it is. Like, I'm just the chosen one, you know. Yeah. And yeah, like, I just believe in myself. You know what they say. Sometimes they can say something along the lines of like, okay, this guy doesn't know nothing. But for me, it's just more so it's me. It's just the way I am. I like fighting. I believe in myself. I know where my heart will take me. My heart's never failed me. Never. It definitely won't fail me now.
Final question, and it's on Big Francis. His heart has taken him out of Africa on an incredible journey, an incredible narrative arc. Like Fury's story is incredible, redemption, overweight, but Francis's story about being homeless in France and finding an MMA gym and becoming a UFC heavyweight champion, but always wanting to be a world champion in boxing and getting this opportunity. Is he a dangerous man, David, because he's got this opportunity when he steps in against Fury?
Yeah, he is, and he's a big guy, and he bangs. So he is a dangerous man, but at the same time, he's coming against the best, people that have been in the field longer than he has, and they still haven't done nothing.
You've done a load of rounds with Fury, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
100?
Over that. Over 200 probably, So I kind of see the man, I know what the man's about. But at the same time, Ngannou gets to live the dream, and I think that's what's good for him. So even if he comes up short, he still gets to go home saying he tried. So you went into another man's playing field. Like I said, there's a difference between tennis and table tennis. So
what are you better at?
Table tennis. Yeah. But I still believe when I go.
You'd still win at tennis if you were.
Exactly that. When I play tennis, I still think I can come out on top.
Final one. Tell the fans what to expect.
A knockout. I'm tuning October 28th. It's going to be a knockout. No judges needed.
Thank you, David. Cheers.
Always.
Thank you very much. The last time I had you on the Battle of the Baddest podcast, Dan, we were at the press conference in London, red carpet, big day. Anything changed in your mind about Francis Ngannou's chances in all the videos we've seen and the build-up we've seen, how Tyson Fury looks? Any thoughts?
I think of course that it's going to be an uphill battle for Ngannou, but I do think that there are some things that he's going to get from Mike Tyson that are going to be beneficial. Psychological advantage of having Mike Tyson just there, investing his time, and is going to be huge for someone like Ngannou. And, you look at Mike Tyson's style, working his way inside a long jab against big fighters. Again, it's ideal for Ngannou. It's difficult to know how much he's going to be able to implement into his game. But even if he's just able to add a little bit to get him in range to land those power punches, it could be a game changer.
Is it wrong, people saying, it's just an exhibition fight? Because surely Ngannou has every intention of taking Fury's head off.
Yeah, and I don't think, Tyson Fury's not thinking about this as any kind of exhibition as well, because he knows he's got one of the most thunderous punches on the planet trying to take his head off. He has to take that seriously. Of course, Tyson's got supreme boxing skills, and he's going to be able to utilize them to manage this fight, the pace, keep himself safe, etc., etc. But there's always the untangible, right? There's always that moment where Ngannou comes out from a weird angle, like he did against Rosenstrike or Overeem, where he catches you with a punch that's from way down below, and you don't see it coming. And Carl Frampton's made a good point when I've been talking to him today. It's so difficult to spar novices because they don't move with the good fundamental patterns that you can predict. That's the advantage here for Ngannou, but he has to get close to do it.
We're here at the Wardley Adeleye press conference today. That's going to be fireworks, isn't it?
That is going to be fireworks. And, I really love the fact that this undercard is being stacked, so it's not just about the main event. It's about all of these fighters. There was the animosity that was overflowing at the red carpet event. And I think stylistically it's a very interesting matchup. You've got Wardley, who's got a nice tight guard. He's very good at pressuring and forcing people to fight. And then, you've got Adeleye, who's hanging back, waiting, low lead hand, trying to draw you in, ready for that rocket of a right hand that he's got. I think stylistically that's a really good matchup. And they're both talking reality in there. It's going to be a hard fight. They're going to be in deep waters, and someone's going to have to dig deep. And it might steal the show.
I don't disagree with you. We will see you in Riyadh. Thank you, Dan.
I'm looking forward to it.
Cheers. Carl Frampton, you're part of the commentary team out in Saudi next week. Just a quick one on David Adeleye and Fabio Wardley, or Wardley and Adeleye. Were you expecting a little bit more fire from them towards each other today?
I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, there's a lot of tension because of what happened in the initial press conference. They announced the huge event that's happening in Saudi next week. But both guys are smarter than what happened the first time. I didn't, if I probably really thought hard about it, I didn't think they would react like they did before. Certainly there's a lot of animosity there between both, but I just done a head-to-head with them, and they'll not admit it, but there's a certain amount of respect there too, and I know both guys
that came across clearly today, didn't it, the respect?
Yeah, I think both guys are expecting a hard fight. You probably ask them both individually, and they both will say it'll be an easy fight or an easy night's work.
Both are saying it shouldn't go the distance.
Yeah, which makes
what we love to hear with heavyweights.
Absolutely, and I can't really see it going the distance, if I'm being honest. I think it's a fight that ends in knockout, and I think that it's a fight that if you have this in the UK, you can do quite well in terms of a venue to put it in and the tickets to sell. Potential to steal the show. Could be a great fight.
Are you allowed to pick a winner or not?
I am, but I'll not just yet. Maybe leave it a little bit closer. And at this stage, I don't really know. I need to sit down and think about it properly.
Yeah.
But it's clear that both guys are very, very confident, and I don't think there's any sense of fakeness about their confidence. Both believe genuinely that they can win the fight.
On the other side of those two up there on the poster, the two kings, if you like, from MMA and boxing. We spoke last week. We spoke a few weeks back. As it gets nearer, these events, even when there's a big favourite and an underdog, when we're in Saudi next week, when we're in Riyadh, they have a habit of people giving the underdog more of an opportunity the closer you get. Do you think that's going to happen?
It probably will, to the kind of general public, the general population. Kind of happened. If you look at the kind of the narrative around Mayweather and McGregor, as a boxing fan and as a boxing purist, I never expected McGregor to get close to Mayweather. I imagine you were the same.
Well, he hit him with an uppercut. I'd never seen him being hit with an uppercut before.
Yeah, you get hit with an uppercut, but you know it's a long fight, and one uppercut doesn't win you a fight. But
the sweet spot on a glove is smaller than the knuckles on a 4-ounce kind of pair of mitts, isn't it? As well, there's all those kind of things.
There's not a lot. There's not. I've had MMA gloves on. I've had pro boxing gloves on.
You look like you've been doing it recently.
I'm doing a wee bit, but there's not that not loads of difference. Although a boxing glove looks bigger, for me it was 8-ounce gloves. For the bigger guys, it's 10-ounce. But the 10-ounce is kind of dispersed over the whole glove.
Yeah.
So the knuckle area is probably pretty similar, if I'm being honest. But I imagine, you're going to get a lot of people jumping on and saying, Francis has a really good chance, a strong chance. I imagine the bookies may even have it closer than it should be, but in my head, that Tyson is a clear favourite.
Look forward to seeing you in Riyadh next week. Cannot wait for it.
Thanks, Gareth.
Cheers. Well, we've spoken to Fabio Wardley, we've spoken to David Adeleye, we've even spoken to Dan Hardy, and we're with the main man, actually. Frank Warren, the guy that puts these things together, the guy that calms them, the guy that is so calm between two guys who might have kicked off today in Wardley and Adeleye. Frank, you must have had stern words for the press conference.
No, nothing at all. I just said to them, as I said to them at the press conference, never even discussed it. I mean, they're professional fighters. We made sure there's no entourages here. And they know, listen, they've got a big fight on their hands, fighting each other in a ring without doing it here with a load of people around them. 28th is going to be a massive night for them too. British and Commonwealth title. It's the main event on the fabulous card on Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. All around the world, all the eyeballs around the world. You've seen all the publicity for this, all the everywhere, cabs, buses in every capital city, on billboards, on screens, everywhere you look. On the 28th, everybody's going to be watching that. And for Fabio Wardley and for David Adeleye, it's their chance to show the world what they've got. Because one thing's for sure, everyone's going to know who the winner is.
Absolutely, and they have both said to me today on Battle of the Baddest that this ain't going the distance. And David Adeleye said if it goes the distance, we haven't done our jobs properly.
I agree with him. I don't think it'll go the distance. I think they'll do their jobs properly, but I don't think it'll go the distance. I really don't. I think there's too much tension in this. I think there's a lot of pride. There's always pride involved in fighters, but these two guys, it's just a little bit more than that. And I think at the end of the day, because of that, it won't be safety first. It'll be bombs away.
I was up in Manchester at the weekend. We won't comment necessarily on that card, but obviously Tommy Fury was fighting KSI and Tyson Fury was there. He looked in really good shape. You can see it in his face always, that he's clearly had a hard camp. When you are in these moments, a week or so away from a big event with one of your fighters, Tyson Fury obviously, when he's facing someone he's got jeopardy against, where he almost has to win against Ngannou, otherwise it's one of the biggest upsets in boxing history. Do you worry at all? Do you get concerned leading into it?
Look, I've got every faith in Tyson, and he's a consummate professional. He doesn't leave a stone unturned in his preparation for a fight, and he knows that all the pressure's on him. It's not on Ngannou. Ngannou's got nothing to lose in this.
Yeah.
Nothing to lose. He's got everything to gain, and I mean everything to gain. Tyson's the one who's got it all to lose because everybody seems to think, or a lot of people think, that it's a foregone conclusion, which it's not going to. This fight is not going to be what people think it's going to be. This fight is going to be a war. We just talked about one.
Yeah.
Just now for the British and Commonwealth time. This will be the same thing, because the two of them go in there. Tyson, in his last how many fights? 3 or 4 fights. He's not gone out there and boxed.
He doesn't sit back anymore, does he?
He's gone and stood. He's planted his feet since he's been with Sugar.
Yeah.
He's planted his feet and he lets his shots go. And he's planted his feet with the hardest punching heavyweight in boxing for the last 50 years. Planted his feet and went toe-to-toe with him, traded with him. We see it. And he got caught a couple of times and went on the floor against this big puncher and showed what he's all about by getting up. I've never been a fan. What I mean by a fan, I've not really watched a lot of UFC, but I've started watching. I've watched all of Francis Ngannou's fights, and he's a tough sod.
Yeah.
He's tough. It's a rough sport. It's you see what they do. There's kicking and whatever, and he can punch. He's a big whacker. He's in the Guinness Book of Records. Apparently, he's the hardest punching sportsman out there. He's in the Guinness Book of Records for that. So I look at it, I think, is Tyson going to, is he going to outbox Tyson? I can't see that. I can't see anybody doing that, by the way. Is he going to outbox him? No. So what's he going to do? He's going to put it on Tyson. He's got to put Tyson out of his stride, Tyson out of his comfort zone, and land his shots. And I think Tyson will do him at his own game. I think he'll stand there with him, and I think he'll let his bombs go. It will be. I mean, all these 2 heavyweight fights, both of them, it's going to be bombs away. That's what it'll be.
And there's 6 heavyweight fights on the card, of course.
Yeah.
Can you remember 6 heavyweight fights?
No, I can't.
Have you ever done one of those extravaganzas? I know you've had
many years ago. Many years ago.
Should Tyson Fury come through unscathed, if you like, with no cuts, no serious injuries against Francis Ngannou, is there still an appetite for Tyson to face Alexander Usyk on December the 23rd?
Look, this place we're in, where we're doing this press conference, used to be MI5 building. So it's a secret. You won't find out until after the fight.
Fair enough. But I'm going to ask this because Eddie Hearn's saying he might put Conor Benn and Chris Eubank on that night as well. Yeah. Presumably he won't if you've got that fight on that night.
What title's that for?
I don't think there is a title. It's a welterweight versus a middleweight.
Welterweight versus a middleweight. There's be a lot of interest outside of Britain for that.
Frank, we look forward to seeing you in Riyadh next week, and for the Battle of the Baddest podcast. The game is being changed, isn't it?
Told you it was a game changer, and it is a game changer. This is the start of something really big. This is the future. This is the start of something big. And I'm really delighted that we're a part of it and been able to contribute to it. And I think what His Excellency has done is magnificent. You look at all these promos, they're like Oscar-winning things. I mean, I've never seen promotion like this. Cabs, buses, everywhere
the quality of the tiny documentaries are incredible.
Go down to the Thames where you got the Tower Bridge. You look at this stuff; it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And as I say, all that means, all this publicity means, people are going to be watching something, and they're going to be watching something, and they're going to be excited by what they see. No doubt about that.
Thanks, Frank. We'll see you next week.
Look forward to it.
Cheers. Thank you. So the press conference is over. Just come with me for a moment. Wardley, Adeleye. No shenanigans today. They've spoken about what they want to do to each other on the night in Riyadh. The press conference is over. You can see behind me what an amazing poster for this as well. Frank Warren's spoken, Wardley's spoken, Adeleye spoken. British heavyweight title on the line. A big grudge fight, a big clash of young titans in the desert to open the Riyadh season. And to open, of course, Tyson Fury against Francis Ngannou. I'm Gareth Davies. You've been watching the Battle of the Baddest podcast. I'll see you in Saudi Arabia next week.